a first step in a nuclear nightmare. As far as we know at this hour, no worse than that. But a government official said that a breakdown in an atomic power plant in Pennsylvania today is probably the worst nuclear reactor accident to date. There was no apparent serious contamination of workers, but a nuclear safety group said that radiation inside the plant is at 8 times the deadly level, so strong that after passing through a 3-foot thick concrete wall, it can be measured a mile away. Gary Shepard reports from Harrisburg.
The accident occurred here at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant a dozen miles south of Harrisburg. At about 4 o'clock this morning, 2 water pumps that help cool reactor number 2 shut down. Officials say some 50 to 60,000 gallons of radioactive water escaped into the reactor building, and that the radioactivity penetrated the plant's walls. Steam escaped into the atmosphere, and radiation was detected as far as a mile away. At least 50 workers, and perhaps twice that number, were at the plant when the accident occurred. A spokesman admitted that some were exposed to radioactivity and may have been contaminated, but he claimed no one was injured. All workers were given extensive checks with Geiger counters as they left the plant. Reporters were not permitted inside the facility today, but this is what reactor number 2's control room looked like last September when it was still undergoing testing. It went into commercial service only 3 months ago. Officials from Metropolitan Edison Company, which operates the plant, attempted to minimize the seriousness of the accident, saying the public was never in danger.
We may have some minor fuel damage, but we don't believe at this point that it's extensive. The radiation levels at the site boundary are really only 1/10 of the general emergency level where we normally get concerned. We do have our crews out. We're monitoring for airborne contamination. The amount that we found is minimal. Very small traces of radioactivity have been released from the plant.
But the company's statements have not answered several important questions. How much radioactivity has already escaped from the plant? How high is the radiation level inside the plant? And is there still a high level of radioactive steam inside? The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has already begun a complete investigation into today's accident. Power company officials say it will be weeks, perhaps months, before reactor number 2 is back in operation. Gary Shepard, CBS News, Middletown, Pennsylvania.